Okay, so I decided to make a quick video about my book collection. So I know it looks kind of messy, but I promise that in all the disorder, the apparent disorder, there's actually harmony. So there's a reason for the madness, let's say. The books that I use the most for my studies are always usually right next to me. So that's why there's this stack of books right here. As well as on the floor, I have a lot of books that I surround myself with because these are all the things that I use whenever I study, different subjects. I always have different books about it, and interpretations and that kind of stuff around me. So that's why I have, a bunch of texts literally surrounding my chair. I know it looks kind of funny and actually looks really messy, but yeah, I have tons of text. So all these books are books of, various topics that I am currently interested in and I'm studying, and hopefully will be used in my research and future projects and stuff like that, because I'm going to write several books. So anyway, um so yeah, that's why there's this huge stack of books there. Anyway, so let's go ahead and look at the shelves themselves. So this shelf right here, I'm not sure if you can see that there. Yeah, the white shelf at the bottom has mostly um, medieval texts. When I say medieval texts, I'm talking about specifically medieval philosophy and mostly medieval Christian philosophy. So in there, I have a lot of primary sources and texts about medieval philosophy. I also have some texts that are published by Cambridge, and they're basically commentaries on various philosophers that I study. So I have them on the left side. They're okay from the ones that I've read. I've read the ones on Plato and Aristotle and Immanuel Kant and Leibniz, and I think that they're pretty helpful. Some of the what do you call them? It's an anthology of essays from different scholars that write about different facets of a certain philosopher. Anyway, some essays are useful, some aren't that good and probably shouldn't have been included, but anyway, that's just my personal preference or my opinion. So above that, we have my three shelf bookshelf, and okay, so the one at the very, very, very top has just philosophical writings from medieval philosophers. So in there, I have St. Thomas Aquinas. I have his philosophical writings on, being in essence and, various selected works. I also have St. Augustine's writings there. I have an anthology of works on Christian mysticism. I also have St. Anselm, selected works of St. Anselm. And what else do I have there? Oh, yes, I have philosophical writings of John Duns Scotus and William of Ockham, and I have some Bonaventure as well. Anyway, so those are just, primary texts. On the bottom, like I said, in the white little bookshelf, I had the commentaries and histories of medieval philosophy and doxographies or whatever you call them. Anyway, the center shelf in the brown bookshelf that's sitting on top of the white one, the center shelf has mostly contemporary philosophical books written by contemporary philosophers and scholars. Actually, it's the middle and the bottom. Both of them have contemporary stuff. So it's mostly books on various topics in metaphysics, various topics in epistemology, books on philosophy of mathematics as well as philosophy of science. I have several books on philosophical logic and philosophy of logic. I understand that some of those books, it's kind of hard to categorize. They should be over here in the algebra logic section, but I'll get to that in a bit. It's kind of hard to categorize this here because they kind of fit in both sections. Anyway, so let's move on to this. So here I have a black bookshelf with it's three tiered, and then I have another one right next to it, and then a small one that's sitting on top of that. The one that's sitting on top of that bookshelf has just random books on just random. Some of them are just small paperbacks, just usually collected works of various thinkers and philosophers and mathematicians and just random stuff. Not too important. The one under it, that three-tier bookshelf, has a bit of some computer science textbooks. Also, it has some pretty random stuff that, that isn't too important. I have some stuff on Egyptology. I've been interested in that as well. Some stuff on archaeology, that kind of stuff. I have dictionaries on Egyptian hieroglyphics, dictionaries on Mayan hieroglyphics. So I have stuff on, more like linguistic like topics. And what else do I have in that shelf? Some modern science texts, stuff about, modern cosmology, modern like quantum chemistry, that kind of stuff. But most of them, I don't really, study them that much. I kind of just have them there, and I will eventually get to them. But anyway, let's move on to the left side. So here, at the very top, I have a row of books sitting on top of the bookshelf. Those are also kind of random. On the left side, I have the complete works of Aristotle in translation. I also have the complete dialogues of Plato in translation. I have Euclid's Elements. I have Frederick Copplestone's History of Philosophy. I have 3 books that have all volumes in it. So I have all of the volumes that he wrote, and they're in 3 books, and I think it's a total of like 5,500 pages. So that's pretty cool. Yes, I do study them a lot. I've used Frederick Copplestone's History of Philosophy a lot, especially when I study the works of a philosopher. I usually study the works by themselves, form my own interpretations, and then consult what other historians of philosopher have thought about the ideas of, whatever philosopher it is that I'm studying. So yeah, Frederick Copplestone's History of Philosophy has been extremely helpful for me. It's fun to read. It's nice. I like it certainly better than Bertrand Russell's History of Western Philosophy. But anyway, that's beside the point. Right next to that, I have Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologica in translation, and it's actually a incomplete set. I only have 2 of the 3 books. So anyway, let's get back to that bookshelf on the left. So on the top row and in the middle row, I mostly have books on algebra, various topics in algebra. So I have books on algebraic geometry, applications of algebraic geometry, algebraic topology. I even have stuff on algebraic number theory and coding. I have stuff on stuff on mathematical logic. I'll have a lot of stuff on set theory. I have stuff on category theory as well. Categorical analysis of logic. I have stuff on cohomology, homological algebra. So it's like my algebra logic section. And then under that, I have analysis. So I have, various things on measure theory, Lebesgue integration, analytic function theory, complex analysis, all that good stuff. So I have that at the bottom there. Differential geometry, that kind of stuff. That's at the very bottom. Let's see, I'm trying to think if I remember putting, yeah, it's mostly just topics and analysis. Then on this side, I have I have several stacks of books that are just literally stacked up. These are also books that I use, but if I'm not currently using them from this stack, from the stacks over here, then I just scoot them on back there. And then if I need them again, I grab them and bring them back over here, and then maybe move some of these over there. So these are kind of interchanged, not too frequently, but yeah, they're interchanged. So there's just stacks of random things that I study. As you can see you see a bunch of yellow books on the right side. Those are all abstract algebra stuff. It's kind of funny, but anyway. And behind that, inside the shelf, I have books stacked up horizontally again. And those are also kind of random texts. Trying to remember. Yeah, it's just random stuff. I have a lot of different books on calculus because I like to study different ways of teaching calculus. Like what are the most effective ways of teaching calculus to high school students and early undergraduate students that freak out when they first take calculus. So I have a lot of random books on calculus just to see different pedagogies and that kind of stuff. Then above it, in that row there, I have the Hackett series of philosophy anthologies. They're all anthologies of various philosophical texts. They're mostly yeah, like I have one on medieval philosophy, one on ancient Greek philosophy, one on modern European philosophy. Oops, sorry, the computer was gonna go into standby. Modern European philosophy, stuff on, political philosophy, moral philosophy, philosophy of religion, that kind of stuff. So that's in the middle. Those are just like standard textbooks that university classes on, philosophy use. So I have those in the middle. I have other history of philosophy books scattered throughout there. Above that, I have some more, some primary text. Okay, so this is funny about my book collection. I literally have multiple copies of the same book because I buy, like, for example, if I'm going to read, Aristotle, I will buy multiple translations of Aristotle in English. So I can compare the different translations to see if I can spot anything that, might have not been translated correctly. I don't know ancient Greek. I haven't studied it yet. So for now, that's how I'm getting by. But later in the future, I will probably study ancient Greek and Latin so that I can, read them in the original language. But anyway, so I have multiples of the same book in different translations. So anyway, that's that. Above that, I have, again, Plato's Dialogues in a different translator. Then I have stuff that comes from medieval Islamic philosophy, metaphysics and epistemology. I have Avicenna. I have Ibn Rushd, Al-Farabi, Al-Suhrawardi. I have just different, philosophers and mystics that have written on relevant philosophical issues that influenced, Thomas Aquinas and, the scholastic era of Western philosophy. Anyway, moving on to the left, that's the Harvard Classics. It's 1919. I think they're second, or I'm not sure if it's first edition or second edition, but I think it's from 1919, and it's the entire set, 52 books. It's the whole set of Harvard Classics, and then I have a stack of logic books on top of that. Most of those are symbolic logic. I use them frequently. Also, I don't know. I just ran out of spots. I'm just weird like that. I just stack books in random places. So anyway, let's move on over here. Oops, can you see that? So over here I have two bookshelves, and geez, I don't even know how I can talk about all this. So anyway, the ones on the right side, the ones on the top rows of the right side mostly have math as well as modern philosophy. Then as you go down to the bottom rows, you have stuff on ancient Greek philosophy and classical works from the ancient Greek period. So it's mostly ancient philosophy and ancient classic books and texts. Same thing for the one on the left. The bookshelf that's on the left side. I have classic texts. The one in the middle is Roman historians and Greek historians and biographers. I'm interested in ancient historiography, so I have a lot of books that ancient historians wrote about their own history and how they interpreted it and used it, for whatever means to support, whatever causes that they were supporting. Anyway, oops, can you see that? So above those, I have the I don't know, should I say ancient? The commentators of late antiquity, commentators on Plato and Aristotle. So here I have books that were written by Syrianus, books that were written by Theophrastus, I think I said that incorrectly, books that were written by Simplicius, Alexander of Aphrodisias. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. Some of their names are hard to say. Anyway, so those are the commentators on Plato and Aristotle that I have. And then moving on over here, I have my Oriental books. So this is just stuff on Hinduism, Buddhism. I'm interested in Buddhist. Let me see if I can move the camera that way, because I'm trying to orient. I'm looking at the computer and recording this, so I need to orient this correctly. Yeah, so those are all my Oriental books on the left side. I have a lot of stuff on ancient, Hindu classics, Rig Veda, the Upanishads, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, I have the sutras from various schools of Indian philosophy, like the sutras that are used by the Advaita Vedantin school, the sutras that are used by the Nyaya school. So I have Nyaya sutras there. I also have, I have sutras and philosophical works from, let's just say, classical Indian, Hindu philosophy. I also have Buddhist stuff, Buddhist logic, primary texts on Buddhist religion, that kind of stuff. I also have a little bit of history too, history of Hindu philosophy, Vedantin philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, Jaina philosophy, all that kind of stuff. That's my Oriental section. And then at the very end, we get to, you can't see it, it's kind of messy there, but I have some various textbooks on math again, more basic differential equations and vector calculus and plain old calculus textbooks, real analysis, that kind of stuff. That's just, those I just have for pedagogical reasons, because I like to study how different mathematicians write textbooks to teach students calculus and differential equations and complex variables and real analysis, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so there are many books that I left out that I didn't talk about because I kind of made this video impromptu. I didn't really plan anything, so sorry to the books that I left out. I have a lot of other great math books that I didn't even get to talk about. I mostly study algebraic topology, general topology, and algebraic geometry. Anyway, so, and also mathematical logic, different topics in mathematical logic. Anyway, so that was that, and I'm done with this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.